What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, the 12th of September, 2024. It's 11:30 a.m. here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today, and I'm going to finally comment on the Tenet media scandal. I don't know how many people know about it, but in the conservative media or alternative media, it's a big thing. Basically, what happened is that the DOJ has charged Lauren Chen and her husband, the owners and operators of Tenet Media, with, I guess, taking money from Russia. And so every creator that's involved with Tenet Media, which includes Tim Pool and Dave Rubin, they licensed content, is how it seems to work. They licensed content to Tenet Media, and they then got paid for that. But they're claiming they don't know anything about Russian funding. The DOJ claims that the Tenet Media operators knew that they were getting funds from Russia, and the DOJ claims that that was done so that they make Russian propaganda so that Russia can influence the United States election process, or, you know, win hearts and minds. I mean, the reason why I'm like kind of stuttering and bumbling around with this is because I just don't really get it. Okay, what I understand about it is that it sounds like another Russia hoax in order to defame and demonize conservative alternative media people, the big ones, personalities. I mean, Tim Pool has one of the biggest shows on the internet. Dave Rubin also, and you know, they reach a lot of people, and they also piss off the government. And this also came, I don't know, a day or two after Tim Pool announced that he was suing the Harris-Walz campaign for defamation. And they've got a pretty good case, it sounds like. And then suddenly, one of the operations that Tim Pool has something to do with is accused of working with Russians. So, since the government and the DOJ especially have not been especially trustworthy organizations over the past 6-7 years at least, and probably longer, it's hard to believe that anything that they come up with, especially when it involves Russia, is true, because they lie about everything else. So why would I or anybody else out there take the benefit of the doubt that these people, including Tim Pool and everybody for Tenet Media, was somehow Russian stooges that were paid exorbitant amounts of cash in order to proselytize Russian propaganda? Now, I've watched Tim Pool's show numerous times. I mean, I watch it all the time, almost every day. And it's not his Timcast IRL show that's being put in the spotlight here by the DOJ, but the show, The Culture War. Now, let me just tell you, The Culture War existed before they licensed with Tenet Media, and their content has never changed, and it's not particularly pro-Russian. So where they're getting this from, I don't know. Now, it could also be that the creators knew nothing about it, that Lauren Chen and her husband kept the source of the money secret from them, and they didn't tell them how they were getting paid, but they were obviously not telling the creators that they have to create Russian propaganda. They were not telling the creators that they have to make shows that are specifically pro-Russian, because the shows on The Culture War of Tim Pool and Dave Rubin shows also are not at all pro-Russia. Okay? Now, some shows, some people might say something in Russia's defense when it comes to the Ukraine war, which I also do, you know what I'm saying? But I'm also not particularly pro-Russian. I'm certainly not getting paid. But I do call out things the way I see them, and I don't think that the war with Ukraine was particularly unprovoked, that Russia or Putin did that just because he felt like it, and there was no reason to do it, and, you know, all this other shit. I mean, the United States and all of the Western countries have lied about everything concerning the way they have treated Putin, the way they've treated Russia, about NATO expansion, etc., the Minsk Accords, etc., etc., etc. So, do I think that Putin had a point? Do I think that Putin has long made clear what his line in the sand is, and that line was crossed, and therefore he invaded into Ukraine, the United States would have done the same thing, or did the same thing, at the time of the Cold War when Russia wanted to put nukes in Cuba, remember? So I can understand that Russia does not want American nukes or American military bases or NATO in Ukraine, which is right on his border. So if it's okay for the United States to reject something like that, it should be okay for Russia to do the same. And if nobody's willing to work with him, or with Russia, with Putin on this deal and make sure that Ukraine stays neutral, then he's got no other choice. That's my opinion. And there are other people out there that have said something similar. Now, I don't think that it would be worth it to Russia to pay millions of dollars to some media licensing company in order for people to say just that. I think for millions of dollars, they would be buying like straight up shows about Russia constantly. You know what I mean? So the whole thing just doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense. The only thing that in my mind could be possible is that Tenet Media, the ones that are going to be prosecuted or being charged with this, that they knew they were getting funding from Russia, and then they took that money. Now, let's assume that would be my worst case scenario prognosis here. If the worst case is Lauren Chen and her husband, who run Tenet Media and own Tenet Media, took knowingly Russian money from Russia and to make content. Now, I still don't think that they really delivered then, because I have not seen any Russian propaganda shows from any of their creators that license their content. Okay? So it does sound weird, but let's assume that's true. Let's assume that's true, and they took Russian money. Is that illegal? Is Russia not allowed to invest in America, or in podcasters in America, or in businesses in America? Is that illegal? Is that because like, serious question? Maybe I'm lost here. Is that because of the sanctions? Because of the war with Ukraine? Yeah, okay, well, if that's the case, then that would be a problem, I guess. But why would it be not allowed for a Russian company to invest in an American company? I think that happens all the time, doesn't it? I mean, you know, there's all kinds of people that live in actual enemy countries to the United States that invest in United States businesses. The Chinese are supposedly America's biggest enemy, but yet China is investing in things in the United States, buying up farmland. They're, you know, doing all kinds of shit. So how is that okay? I don't get it. Is it because it's a media company, and those media companies and those personalities and those creators are saying things that are anti-establishment and not pro the U.S. government at this moment? They're pro-Trump, maybe? I think that's probably sounds a little bit more like why they want to put the scare in everybody. See, I think that what this is a test balloon by the DOJ, and this is a fear-mongering tactic. It's getting close to election time. Kamala Harris is getting ready to get sued by Tim Pool. It's going to put exposure on them. It's going to make them look bad. And they know that the tide is turning and probably Donald Trump will win, and they have to do absolutely everything they can to make sure that they remain in power. That's what I've been saying all this time, is that they are going to go absolutely hog wild now. The more popular Trump gets, the less that they can put him in jail and try to get him and try to corner him in debates, which all of that shit is not working. Donald Trump is kicking ass. And with his unification with Robert F. Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, and a bunch of other people that you would never expected to be on Donald Trump's side, but suddenly are, is making it a very, very difficult time for Kamala Harris's campaign, because she's got nothing to offer, and she knows it, and the Democrats know it, and the people, these establishment lunatics, are going to claw themselves onto power whatever way they can, legal or illegal, as we know. Okay? So it seems more to me like, if I was going to guess, without knowing much more about it than I just said, if I was going to guess, this is another false flag deal by the DOJ to discredit the creators and the content creators and the personalities that they are including within this suit, all right, or including in this case, and to scare other commentators and other so-called right-wing media personalities, the pro-Trump people, the people that are anti-establishment. They're going to scare them by showing them, look what we can do. We know that you know there's no Russian collusion here, but we're going to make it that it's Russia collusion, and all the normies will believe us, and we have the power to arrest them. We have the power to put them in handcuffs. We have the power to force them on their knees and take some plea deal admitting that they did it, just like Julian Assange, right? And then that's going to be their way to scare everybody else into shutting the fuck up. Because everybody else is going to go, damn, they just made up a completely fake case about Russia, but these people are in real trouble. You know what I'm saying? And if it's a real case about Russia, then these people are still in trouble, right? So either way, they're going to do what they can to take these people out for whatever reason. And I think the reason is that they want to shut up conservative podcasters, right-wing podcasters, people telling truth, and people with a lot of reach, okay? And that is what it does seem like to me. It does not seem like it is a Russian operation, okay? Just for the things that I just said. It just doesn't look like it. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like it because none of these creators are creating Russian shows, like praising Putin or interviewing Russian people, or, you know what I'm saying, or bashing the Ukraine war for Russia in any particularly egregious way. It just doesn't. I don't know. Whenever the deep state wants to do something, they always use Russia. They're like, oh my God, it's Russia. Russia collusion and Donald Trump and Russia this and pissing on Russian prostitutes and whatever the fuck else. Russia, 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 Russia. That's what they go to every time. Inflation, that's Russia. It's Russia. So I'm sorry, guys, if I just don't take your guys' word for it and believe you guys offhand with what you're coming up with against Tenet Media. It just doesn't seem like a real thing. It just doesn't seem as though it doesn't seem logical to me. And we know that they've lied about pretty much everything. And we know that they have the power to make trumped up, pun intended, charges on people and scare them into taking a plea deal and admitting to something they didn't do, so that the DOJ and the authorities get the win. It's what they did to Julian Assange. Julian Assange should have been freed. He's a journalist that exposed the U.S. government for war crimes and much more, and Hillary Clinton's emails and much more, etc. You know what I mean? He is not a criminal. And yet they basically kept him in prison or in the Ecuadorian embassy for over a decade. And the only way that he would ever be free is if he admitted to something he didn't do and agreed to something he doesn't want to agree to. I'm pretty sure. Now, I don't think anybody, we have not yet seen that plea agreement, I guess. I don't know. Has anybody seen it? I don't think I have. But I'm sure that Julian Assange would not have taken this plea deal if there was no other way. So that's how they roll, right? That's how they roll. That's how they roll with the January 6 people. They make the charges so overwhelming for shit that's insane, terrorism and shit, so that the people go, Jesus Christ, if I lose this case, I'm going to get 50 years in prison. I might as well just take 4 and admit that I did something. That's not great. That's like the witch trials, people. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you give ideologues power. See, ideologues with power will use whatever they can to their advantage, legal or illegal, in order to attain their goals. And their goal is, with January 6th and these kind of things, their goal is generally, we want to stay in power, and we will do whatever we have to stay in power and not let Donald Trump get power. Because more than they want to stay in power, they don't want Donald Trump to get in power, because they know that the country is probably going to change fundamentally, and that if they lose this election, they're probably not going to see power for a very, very long time. Because I think that people, if they elect Donald Trump, they've learned their lesson. They've learned their lesson, and they know that giving power back to the Democrats and these leftist ideologues and these wokesters, that we barely escaped totalitarianism, and they're going to be very weary of getting close to that again. So the Democrats and the left know that if they lose this election, they're out, and probably for a very long time, right? And so they're going to do whatever they can to hang on to power. They're going to crush who's ever in their way, whoever speaks out against them, because the totalitarianism is actually already here. And they're just using it, they're weaponizing, they're ratcheting it up more and more and more every time, a notch, every time a ratchet, a notch. Notch up, notch up. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between now and the election. We've only got 57 or 56 days left, I think, or 55 days until the election, which is, I know you've heard it all before, but it is the most important election of our lifetimes to date. And it's very important, I say it in every video I can, it's very important that everybody gets out there and does their part to support Donald Trump and stop this madness in its tracks while we still can. Voting for Kamala Harris or putting these people back in power or leaving them in power, Senate, Congress, they got to go everywhere. You got to primary them all, get rid of them all. All of the establishment cronies, all of the people that voted against your interests, all of the people that filled their pockets, all of the people that locked you down during COVID, tried to force you to take a shot. Look at everybody's voting record. Get rid of them all, the rhinos and the Democrats. Right? It's coming, and they know it. And I think this Tenet media scandal, supposed scandal, is just another playbook, page out of their playbook, so to speak. So again, it's Russia. There's no real evidence that any of the podcaster creators made actual pro-Russian content. And again, even if they did, is that illegal? Is somebody not allowed to be pro-Russia? Think about that. I mean, I don't know the answer because I don't know what law they're basing this on. It sounded so strange to me. The only thing I can think of is it's the sanctions. So because they've sanctioned Russia because of the war with Ukraine, then Russians are not allowed to invest in America or in American companies, I guess. But I thought the sanctions were only one way. I thought that meant that America couldn't, invest in Russia. I don't know. They make up their shit as they go along. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? They just make up shit. And that's the problem with this kind of stuff. That's why nobody understands it. But if you think about it just for a little bit, it just doesn't seem logical that Russia has anything to do with Tenet Media. It's also possible that Russia funded it, but the Tenet Media people didn't know that it went through third parties. You know what I mean? That's why the content isn't pro-Russian. You know what I mean? Because nobody's supposed to know that Russia is investing in it. And if they tell everybody to make pro-Russian content, then they know Russians investing in it. And there's just no pro-Russian content. And if there is, then it's one show out of 100, that made one episode of something that was maybe pro-Russian. That doesn't seem to me worth the money. So I'll keep an eye on this. I hope you guys keep an eye on this, but don't take it too seriously. These people are noted liars. We know and we see them trying every which way they can to cling on to power. It's getting so crazy that they're just being openly corrupt and openly breaking the law and openly bending the Constitution and openly doing it in your face. And then to top it off, they're openly protecting groups like trans rights groups and illegal immigrants against the will of the people so that they can clamp down on the people. They're attacking you with censorship, they're attacking you with inflation, and they're doing whatever they can to stay in power. It's sick. These people are sick, and they need to go. So let's keep an eye on the Tenet Media thing. Don't pass judgment right away. We don't know anything, and since the DOJ is involved, we will probably be left to speculate forever because they never come out with a truthful thing. And my speculation, I just laid out for you. So guys, if you want to get the Insanity Report Monday through Friday every day in your inbox, on the weekends, the Weekly Rant, podcast recommendations, or any one of the articles that I write, which are quite long and quite detailed, people like them, You can get them all in your inbox as soon as they're published. If you subscribe to my Substack below, the links are down below. You can do it for free, or you can do it for $5 a month. I would appreciate that greatly if you did. And if you're watching this on another platform like Rumble or X or TikTok, then go ahead and follow me there. But please also subscribe to the Substack, even if you do it for free, just because it's easier for you and it's easier for me. You get all my content directly when it comes out, and all I have to do is send it out on that platform. So that's the deal, guys. That's the Insanity Report for Thursday. Hope you guys are having an okay day. Keep this story in mind. Keep an eye on it. And draw your own conclusion. Again, look at what's out there on evidence. Look at the way that it's being framed. Draw your own conclusion as to whether or not you think that this is actually true. And if it is true, then so what? You know? Think about that. All right, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Insanity Report.